Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Say It Out Loud GG. I want to take a moment to thank you, our sponsor, for sponsoring this program, La Cienciani Styles. Thank you for sponsoring that. And today we have Justin Danforth in the house. I want to take a moment to say thank you, Justin, for just being here, for just being in this podcast. I know that your story will impact a lot of lives. So, who are you, Justin?
Let me first say thank you for having me. And to answer the question, who am I? Wow. Um, Let me start with saying at the age of 21, I got incarcerated facing a life sentence without the possibility of parole. So I'm gonna start the story from there because that really defines who I am today, right? um, so facing a life sentence without the possibility of parole at 21 years old with an eighth grade education, as you can imagine, um, there's no words that can describe the emotional roller coasters, the feelings, the highs, the lows, all of the things, right, that go through one's mind. And so part of my story, what defines who I am today, is is just that. It's that my mindset was so off. It was so negative, just simple and plain. Like I grew up, my mom and dad never really had much. My stepdad is all I know as a father figure, but he raised me since I was like 8 months old. So to me, he is my dad. So when I say my mom and dad, he's my dad. I don't know my real father, but he always had a failing construction business, a roofing business to be exact. And so we could never make ends meet. And my mom and dad's arguments were always financial. So the older I got, the more I chased money, right? And I feel like it's a typical story of a street kid growing up in a poverty, growing up in poverty, right? So the typical story, getting into the streets, getting into crime, getting into from stealing cars to selling drugs to all of the things, right? To becoming uh, very financially stable, all illegally. Well, essentially, it ended up leading up to me going to prison. And since a young teenager, I was always told, "Well, you ain't gonna make it to 21. If you do, you'll be dead or in jail, right? You'll be in prison or in jail. Of course, you won't be dead, but you're either gonna die or go to jail." So for me, it was like it was prophesized. By the time I turned 21, I had already been locked up a couple times, just doing like county jail stuff, get a bail, beat the case, and then this was the kicker. The charge was first degree murder, and like I said, I was facing life without the possibility of parole. So my mindset was so far gone. I sat in prison for the first 3 years, still continuing to think, talk, walk, and do all the same things that I was doing in the streets, with the exception of carrying a gun. Right. So in prison, you have what they call shanks, but you have a stiff, a knife, whatever, and you can still get drugs, you can still drink, you can still chase women like female officers or caseworkers and things like that. People do crazy things for money. So that being said, I had been doing wrong for so long. Doing the right thing was hard for me. It was grueling. Like I didn't think. I didn't just wake up one day with this aha moment of I'm gonna change the trajectory of the rest of my life. I was at this point I was just surviving, living in prison. So I took a plea for second degree murder and was sentenced to 17 years and 9 months, of which I served an entire 14 years and 4 months in the state penitentiary. Now, when I got locked up, my daughter was 10 months old. So you would have thought that by going to prison, catching a murder charge, facing a life sentence, and having a child 10 months old, I would have changed like immediately, like this ain't it. But as we all know, change doesn't come overnight.
Mhm.
So the question to answer, who am I today, is a completely new version of that individual. That individual died a long time ago. And I
Mhm.
started to cultivate while sitting in prison who I really wanted to be. Truthfully, it's the man that I always needed in my life. Like I said, my dad was always there, but he couldn't teach me financial education. My dad only had a sixth grade education himself. So he was illiterate. So he couldn't teach me like love and affection. Him and my mom fought every single day. I don't even know if I ever received a hug from my dad. Like, so there's aspects of things, that qualities and characters and values that a man should have and be able to exemplify for those around him, not just his own kids, but the people in society as a whole, that he couldn't teach me. So the man I am today is the man I always needed to be in my life. When I look in the mirror, I would take my own advice. I inspire myself. I don't have to look at athletes, celebrities, movie stars, none of that for inspiration. I don't gotta wake up and listen to motivational YouTube videos or podcasts. I don't have to. I inspire myself every day I wake up and I look in the mirror, because I know what I've been through. I know where I've come,
Mhm.
how far I've come, and who I am today. And that's who I am. I'm an upright citizen of society who stands firm on the basic common values and beliefs that we all should uphold, regardless of religion, right? And I do have a strong relationship with my Lord, but set that aside, just enjoying the right and forbidding the wrong, right? Being the best person I can be every single day, regardless of all the pressure, the stresses, the worries, the bills, you know, everything else that goes on in our lives. And so that's who I am today.
Hmm. I applaud you because you showed up for you. That's what you did. And I come from the same environment that you did. So when you talk in your story, I could relate that. I could see that. I could live that because I was that. I was that little girl that my father physically abused, because he didn't have the mentality and he still doesn't have the mentality, and we live in the same city. But it's showing up for yourself. We grew up in an environment where there were pretty much no one applauding us or giving us anything to motivate us. Like, we had no one doing that, so we needed to do that for ourselves, and that's something that you did. And I congratulate you for saying I put me first this time, and that's exactly what you did. You're breaking generational cycles. You're breaking things that probably you never imagined that you were going to do, because I felt that way once. So definitely, wow. So are you married? Do you have kids? Who are you today in that aspect, in the family aspect of it?
Yeah, so to answer your question, yes, I am married. Again, my daughter was 10 months old. When I got locked up, she was turning 16 when I came home. She's my only child that I have. When I got married, my wife already had two kids, all of which are grown. All three of them together are grown. My wife's kids are 29 and 28, and then my daughter's 22. But however, my daughter gave us a grandchild. So now I have a 2-year old grandchild, and we get her every night, like 6 days a week. Um, how I met my wife is I want to point out, because a lot of people find it um, very entertaining. So when I came home, I was just on the grind. When I came home from prison, the end of 2016, September 29th to be exact, 2016, I was doing landscaping, personal fitness training, and working at a restaurant at night. And I was working like 7 days a week, just around the clock, trying to reacclimate to society, and not playing a catch up game. But I got let out of prison with $40. That's what the state gave me, was $40, and that's all I had. Um, into a state that I had no family or friends in, so I really had to make just grind in order to reacclimate and just live basically, not even like extra, which was fine because I'm so institutionalized. To me, everything was extra. Just being outside of prison was a plus. So I have a different appreciation for things like a bag of potato chips or toilet paper, and this has nothing to do with COVID. So uh,
Mm-hmm.
that being said, about 9 months after my release, I was going to the gym, and my cousin, she worked at the YMCA, which is where I was attending, and I'd come in there after work sometimes, and she was like, "Have you met anybody?" And I'm like, "Nah, I don't have time. Like, I'm working. I squeeze in here to the gym, and I go back to work, or I go to bed and do it all over again. I don't have time to meet nobody right now. That stuff will come, and I've never been pressed for that." And so she was like, "Well, have you tried online dating?" And I'm like, "That's really a thing? Like, I know it's a thing, but I think that's for like creeps or something. Ain't there like
Mm-hmm.
some weird stuff? Like, I don't know about all that, because you got to think, when I got locked up, there was no such thing as social media. There was no
Mm-hmm.
such thing as iPhones, smartphones, none of that. When I got locked up, the closest thing to a text message is a pager,
A
two-way
beeper.
pager. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. So, social media was all new to me, and I'm like, that's like for weirdos or something, ain't it? And she was like, nah, let me see your phone. So she helps me set up a profile and everything. And so for like the next 2 weeks, I'm doing this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, so I met my wife on Tinder, and we got married 3 days later. So, and it's been next month to be June 21st to be 7 years we've been married.
Oh, yes. Love it. Love it. It was like it's you was ready. That's it. No waste, no time. That's it. Life is too short, and I know you have that concept. So I do have a couple questions for you, and I think this is going to be great for the audience and for personal development because that's what I do. Say it out loud. GG is for personal development company. So I'm gonna ask some specific questions. What was the turning point that you decided to like change your mindset? Like whether it was like when you came out or before you came out, like what was that turning point? When was that turning point? Because there was a point, like you said, you were incarcerated, you were there, you were still in that mindset. So when did it shift? What made it shift?
Great question. So going to prison, I'll tell anybody, for me, going to prison was the greatest thing that ever happened for me, right? And notice I said for me and not to me, right? The difference is the state of mind being a victim mentality or a victor mentality. Those who play a victim mentality blame everything, blame the world. It's life is happening to them. Those who are victorious and have that state of mind know that life happens for us. So going to prison was the greatest thing that happened for me. That being said, the reason being is it gave me time, it gave me the opportunity to sit with myself. And the longer I sat with myself, the more disgusted I became, the more I hated the individual that was staring back at me in the mirror. And that started weighing on me more and more. And one of the hardest truths most of us have to face, and some will never face it because they just stay in a state of denial, is when you look in the mirror, and if you're not happy with where you're at, you have to be honest and say that it's all based off the decisions you made. Where you're at, or is a byproduct of the decisions and choices you've made up to this point. And so that's the hard truth I had to accept. Like, I put myself here; it was nobody else's fault, and it was disgusting to me. And so the more and more that weighed on my shoulders, the more and more I decided to make a difference and change. And like I didn't just like I said, wake up and change all of a sudden, or set a date like, oh, I'm Monday, I'm gonna change, or the first of the month, or better yet, the first of the year, right? My New Year's resolution, I'm gonna change for the rest of my life. No, I just started reading personal growth and development books, like the same books everybody should read. Like everybody's always wants to ask, like, what books did you read? Man, it's the same books you read. The only difference is I implemented what I was reading.
You implemented, yes.
So it's application, right? Most people don't have a lack of education; they got a lack of application. You don't need to learn anymore. You need to apply what you already know, and see how
Mm-hmm.
much further in life you'll get. So for me, that's what it was all about, was just applying what I was reading, and I developed a daily process of small habits that were uh, daily wins. They stacked up and they accumulated. Just like I tell people, if you want to start a fire, you can start a fire with a small twig. And then you
Mm-hmm.
add another small twig and another small twig. Before you know it, you got this big, huge flame. So for me, it's every day. I start at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I start putting twigs in that fire so that they accumulate. By 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the day comes, I've already got this huge flame. I'm glowing. I'm in flow state. I'm high off of just all the wins that I've already stacked up for that entire morning.
Mm-hmm.
So everything negative that tries to come my way, it just gets brushed off like the shoeing of flies. So there wasn't no specific point in time that I changed. It was just a point in time where I really got tired of being where I was at. Like when the reality really sunk in that I'm sitting in prison, a place I did not like whatsoever. And I did not like who I had become because that's who got me there. And I realized that what got me there was all of the decisions and choices I had been making all of my life. And so what needs to take place is you have to change. And it's a training process. No difference uh if you want a better jump shot, right? And I don't
Mm-hmm.
even watch sports, but it's just basic principles, man. That if you want to be a better boxer, if you want a better jump shot, you just keep staying in one spot and just keep shooting. Eventually you'll get better. If you want to be a better boxer, you just keep throwing those blows. Eventually you're gonna get better. Like you just it's repetition. So for me, that's what I had to do was train my mindset, my tongue, my ears, my sight, like not listening to what I used to would listen to, even in conversation. Like I don't even want to have this conversation anymore
Mm.
because it's not conducive to the vision that I have for myself. So I set that vision, and that's what I did. Every day at 3 o'clock in the morning, I start stepping into that vision, and the vision would be so clear that it would give me goosebumps. Like I'm getting goosebumps now
Mm.
talking about it because it's real to me. And when you live in accordance with your conscience, because your conscience will never steer you wrong. Your thoughts will, your negative self-talk, your inner thoughts will steer you wrong all day long. That's that voice you negotiate with. And that's most of the time when we make those bad decisions. But your conscience will never steer you wrong. And if you live in accordance with your conscience, it will bring clarity to all the confusion in your life. And so the more I stayed on point with my vision, because my vision was enjoying the right, forbidding the wrong, being an upright citizen of society, a good example for all those that I interact with, a better son to my mother, a better grandson to my grandmother, a better brother to my sister, a better neighbor to my neighbor, even the person that I interact in Target or Starbucks. It's like I'm just a better person to cross paths with. So my vision was that much clear, and what I needed to do was crystal clear, and that's what I do. I step in there every single day, and I don't look back. So
That's powerful.
that was the turning point in my life. Way back then, it was like 2005, 2004. I started the journey, and in 2005, I really started tightening up. Where I was like, okay, cigarettes ain't no good, foul language ain't no good, lusting isn't benefiting me, gambling definitely ain't no good. All of the things, right? The alcohol, all of the vices, even bad dieting, like just eating foods that ain't no good for you, right? So all of these things weren't conducive to the vision that I had for myself. Because in my vision, Justin is a stocky, cut up, beach body, bedroom body, whatever you want, like most dudes want, tan, looks good, upright, confident, disciplined. Like these are all. This is the Justin 10.0. And so that's who I step into every single day. And if I look in the mirror and I start to question or see something that I've done or I said or I think that I don't like, that's not in alignment with that vision, then I know now what I need to fix because I regret it. And regret is my guideline.
Do you translate that as self love as well?
Oh,
Oh,
100%. Yeah,
okay.
I, I didn't love myself prior to going to prison. I was doing drugs, drinking, all of the things like just sleeping around with multiple women, could have caught any disease that I couldn't come back from. Like I had already been in multiple shootouts. Like it's so no. Back then I would have been in denial and said, "Oh, I love myself," because I wasn't even conscious enough to know that no, this ain't loving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So I didn't have that level of self awareness back then. I had to learn all of that. And like I said, it just came from the same personal growth and development books that everybody else is reading.
Oh, yes. And that is powerful and that is strong because it is true. A lot of people say, "Oh, I read that, I read this," but it's not what you read, it's how you implicate it in your life. And you truly said that. That was a drop the mic moment. That's what I call it. Drop the mic moment. That was just great, great stuff. You know, Now, well, this has to do pretty much with the same thing, but how did your time in there, like the 14 years in there and 2 months that you were in there, how did that impact your perspective in life and success? Like, how did that change that mentality to say, okay, did you know you were coming out in 14 months and you were like, well, this has to shift, right? So you were in jail, you did this personal growth, you started implementing things, so it was a period of time. But how did, like, the time in there, how did it change that perspective now and how you see life itself or success? Like, what was that vision?
So for me, to answer that question, I would say it changed my perspective on life in so many ways. And I'll begin with saying, like, freedom.
Mm,
And I know that's a broad statement, right? So I'm gonna narrow it down for everybody who's listening or maybe watching this. Just being able to get up from wherever I'm at in my house and go into the refrigerator and open a refrigerator door and grab something to drink.
mm,
You see what I'm saying? You
mm-hmm,
didn't have that in prison. Fix something to eat, or at will, just get up and go outside, walk outside at any time of day. Didn't have that in prison. Couldn't do that in prison. Go to bed when I feel like it or when I want to. Didn't have that in prison. Pick up the phone, not even a smartphone, but that's all we have now. But just picking up a phone and contacting or communicating with somebody. Didn't have that in prison. So that it changed my perspective to where, like, people out here, a calamity and a trial for people out here is just not getting their way. And it's like, if you only knew what I've been through, you've got it made, sucker. You see what I'm saying?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Because people have become so entitled, so lazy, so comfortable, so content, so complacent. And I'm like, you haven't been through nothing. What you think you've
mm-hmm,
been through is a walk in the park for me, man. And so it changed my perspective in the sense that I just have a greater, a deeper appreciation. And for me, gratitude is action. You don't just
mm-hmm,
write down, like, you don't write down, oh, I'm happy for like, people gratitude journal. And if it works for somebody, great. I'm not against anything that's working for you, but ask
mm-hmm,
yourself, is it truly working for you? That's all I would question. For
mm-hmm,
me, it's I don't need to. I never did no gratitude journaling. I don't need to write down, oh, I'm grateful for my house. I'm glad my granddaughter comes over every night. I love my wife. Like, I'm so grateful for all of these things. Like, first of all, my Lord knows all of that.
mm-hmm,
Everybody knows all of that. If not, you just be a piece of crap if you weren't grateful for all of that, right? No, but gratitude is action. What are you doing every single day to show and prove, whether it's to yourself, to your family, all of the things that you're grateful for, your Lord? What are you doing every day to show that you're grateful for it? Because words are futile, right? Words are futile. So you can write that stuff down, but it doesn't mean nothing if you ain't doing nothing about it. You writing down, I'm so grateful for all this stuff, and then you're 100 pounds overweight because you're not taking care of your body. You all of the things, man. Your car is filthy and trashed because you say you appreciate your car, or the blessings you have, and you don't take care of it.
mm-hmm,
Like, and that just goes across the board with everything. Like, so
everything.
so it changed my perspective. Like, I can sit in traffic and it doesn't even bother me. Like, most people, like, they're trying to move so fast and so
Mm,
far ahead at all times. Like, traffic drives them nuts. They're impatient. But everybody will say patience is a virtue, and you ain't got the first lick of patience. We want
mm,
everything instantaneously. We want faster internet. We want instant potatoes, instant coffee. We want DoorDash my food immediately. Like, all of this, so I didn't have any of that in prison. It wasn't even an option. And so I learned to be grateful for what I have, but also what I don't have. because I know that there's a greater wisdom and benefit behind the things that I think I want, and I just haven't received it. There's a reason
Mm-hmm.
why, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to. I don't even have to know the reason. I'm just glad that I don't have it until I get it.
Mm.
Ooh,
That's some
man.
powerful words because you're absolutely right. You know, this society is so fast paced that they don't realize the blessings that they have in their hands. They don't take the time to see exactly and appreciate every single thing on that. I was a person, I lived in Haiti for 3 months. And when I say I lived like Haiti, I lived like them. I didn't want no hotel. I wanted to live the culture. And I came back with a different perspective. I grew up with a different perspective. Let me just say, we were poor. My mom was on welfare, hard life all around. But the fact that we get used to handing things, right? Like we feel entitled, like you said, that we don't realize that. And you said something that it should be eye awakening for everyone who's listening, which is appreciate the things that you do have, because living without them will have you in a different mindset anyway. It's like people don't appreciate what their hands could do until they don't have it. It could be just as simple as that. Your life could change in a quick instant, and I think that we take that for granted. We really do.
And let me just say one more thing in regards to that. The biggest realization and turning point for me was knowing that no matter what I do or don't have, I'm still gonna wake up every single day and try to stack those daily wins to become the best version of myself.
Hmm.
And see, that's the hard part because everything is conditional for most people. Well, I'll do
Hmm.
this if I get this. Like I'll say that if this happens, or I'll spend this money if this is gonna happen. Like it's everything is conditional
Hmm.
and transactional. And for me, it's like no matter what happens, I could lose everything. I'm still gonna get up at 3 a.m. I'm still gonna do my morning processes of stacking those wins, work out, diet, and then tackle the rest of the day. No matter what happens, I could lose it all. And I know this because I have lost everything. And there were
Hmm.
days I sat in a cell, locked up 24 hours a day. See, there's what they call 23 and 1, where you get let out 1 hour, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you don't get let out at all from that cell. And I was in the happiest moments of my life at points in time because I got up, I exercised, I read, I prayed, and I got into what they call a flow state,
Hmm.
right? A heightened level of awareness where it didn't even matter what was going on in the world, that I couldn't get out of this cell, nothing else mattered. I was nice and I was happy. And so now I know out here it's the same thing. No matter what happens, I'm going to continue to do the same thing because I
Hmm.
know the things that I'm doing are in accordance with what I'm supposed to be doing in the sight of my Lord. They're also in accordance with what I'm supposed to be doing just based off of universal laws. So you don't even
Hmm.
have to be religious. There's things that you're supposed to be doing, period. And everybody will admit that. They know that we all hear the voice on the right shoulder, the voice on the left shoulder.
Hmm.
It's your choice which one you want to listen to.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's some strong words. This is the best interview I had. You don't know what you're doing. You're educating right now. Like you're on some real level education right now for all the people, especially my viewers. This is going to be strong. This is going to be good. This is gold for them.
Okay.
Now, how do you approach like failures or setbacks now in your life as an entrepreneur that you are? Because if you didn't know, he's an entrepreneur. This is what he does. He's a motivational speaker. This is his life. This is what his passion and what you love to do. You're good at it. Obviously, if anyone's listening and you're really listening, you get to know that these are motivational speaking. This is real talk right here. So how do you approach any like failures or setbacks, that what we call failure? I always say that, what we call failure, what society wants us to call it, right? Or setbacks, because I truly don't believe in them, right? Me personally. But you know, how do you approach that, or how do you approach any like that journey?
All right. So yeah, and anytime you're striving for more, you're gonna have those periods where you hit a brick wall, right? So for me, I've learned that those are the moments, those obstacles, those failures, those setbacks, that brick wall, that's the gift. That's the blessing. Because throughout my entire life, if I just sit down and reflect from a baby, like just a child, as far as I can remember back, up until today, right this moment, every time I hit a brick wall and overcame it, of course, we learn from it. And what you learn from it is far more grateful than if you never hit the brick wall to begin with,
Mm,
right? Because if you never learned that the eye of the stove was hot, then when you do touch the eye of the stove, at some point, it's gonna burn way more worse. And so, for me, it's knowing and understanding that every setback is that's the blessing, because it tells me how much stronger I have to become, or that I am, because I'm gonna get through it. Like I've never been the type to just sulk, pout, mope, complain, cry, whine, like the majority of society is starting to do. And men are getting weaker and weaker by the second. So I often tell people I'm on a mission to make males men again, and that's another topic for another another show.
mhm,
But my point is the the setbacks, those obstacles, they're the path to success. So now, when I to approach them, I embrace them
mm,
because I know there's a greater good that lies on the other side of that brick wall.
absolutely. Drop the mic moment. Drop the mic moment. And definitely we have to like do a segment about that, like bringing back the men. Like, yes, we do, because it's all about the mindset, like you said, the consciousness that you need. We are programmed, and once again, that's another whole segment that we could go into, but we are all programmed. This is what they want us to do. What are some ways you will give back, like, to, or not give back, but how would you, if you had right now the chance to talk to teens, right? If the audience right now, which is not all teens, but to give back to those teens that think that's life, right? That hardcore, them that. I'm from Camden. I was raised in Camden, New Jersey. That's my friends. That's what they are. So you been there, done that, lived it. What can you give back, or what would you tell these teens right now that are struggling, that think that they hard, you know, but they're not. And because it was a different, right, different generation, different minds. We wasn't in our house. We couldn't be in our house. We grew up in the streets. That's our parents were just called parents. They wasn't parents. They wasn't hands on.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Suck it up. Why are you crying? So right now, if you could give back to the community right now, and they're listening to you, what would you tell them, teens, right now?
There's a lot to be said, but to make it as brief and as short as I can, to a remain curious,
Mm,
because where we come from, you would kind of it was looked down upon if you were curious. If somebody showed up with a brand new pair of J's on their feet, and you was like, "Oh, those are dope. Where you get those from?" You're like, "You ain't up on these? What you mean?" So you
Mm-hmm.
start to not ask questions, and you start to pretend you already know. Like, or you don't even acknowledge, like, "Oh, those are dope J's." You don't even want to give anybody props for having them to a point to where because you're worried about how you would look. So first, be curious, right? Redefine your definition of hard because you really hurt. That's what it boils down to. I learned that the hard way. I wasn't hard, man. I was hurt. And just really, really be 110% honest with who you truly are, not who you portray to be, not who you think you are, not what you want to be. Just who you truly are, and start going out
Mm-hmm.
and live out that truth every single day. And I would give that same advice to grown adults. I would give that advice to a multimillionaire,
Mm-hmm.
not just those teens that's in the street. It's across the board. Live every single day, striving to become the best person you can be, and give that person to the world. That's our purpose in life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you for that. And how do you prioritize like your self-care right now, like your mental health, what they call mental health, right? Or to strive in that. But how do you prioritize that now that you're out, now that you see how fast life is, right? You see how society is and how programmed they want us to be, and how do you prioritize that self-care to still have that same mentality, to still have and set them goals and priority that says, no, I'm putting me first. I'm putting self-love first, self-awareness first. So how do you prioritize that?
For me, it's simple. Like I said, I've got a clear view of who I am, who I'm supposed to be, and what I'm here to do, like my purpose in life. And so it's just sticking to that day in and day out. So I prioritize. I might have said that crazy, but I
Prioritize.
prioritize.
There you go.
I prioritize my vision, and every single day just sticking to that, and I don't conform to society's norm, because what's normal to society today is not, it's the furthest thing from normal, and I disagree with 90% of it. Like, I've never been the type to really like watch, like name a famous show, like one of these shows everybody's watching, man. They used to watch it in prison, you'd hear about it, it's on the news, and it's like I noticed that everybody is watching it. It's the talk. Everybody's talking about it. I refuse to watch it because
Mm,
what I understand is the mindset of the masses is not the mindset that I have. So I won't even give it I won't even give it a chance. I might have a homeboy that's like, "Yo, you gotta watch this show." No, I know you don't watch shows, man, but this one's good, man. And it'd be the same show I see them advertising on the news or whatever. And I'm like, nah, I ain't gotta watch it. I don't need nothing from it, because if everybody else likes it, something ain't right.
mm-hmm.
I never really jump on bandwagons, and so that's how I prioritize me, or my mindset, to keep moving forward and stick to my vision. Is I don't do what everybody else does. I don't think like everybody else does. I'll go to the bench right now. People will be like, "Hey, man, what do you do?" I'm like, "It's what I don't do. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't party. I'm not gonna sit around here and talk about anything that's not conducive to my personal growth and development or yours." And most people don't want to hear that. Nobody wants to sit around and talk about growth and development. Excuse me. They just want to talk about the get rich scheme, or the sports games. Like, I don't watch sports. I ain't got no use for none of that stuff. Like, the vision of
Mm-hmm.
me, my future self, it doesn't sit around and watch sports. So that's how I prioritize sticking to what needs to be done.
Definitely that. So, and before we close up, I have two important questions, or just pretty much. So, how how is it that, or what advice can you give to those out there that that are struggling with that mindset. So what key points would you give them to kind of start? So if you could break it down and say, hey, this is what I don't do, but if I could advise you, start doing this, like at least that, these three, what would that look like? What would that be for anyone in general? I'm talking about women, children, teens, anything. If you could just give those strategies right now and say, work on this that I know for a fact that is going to change your life, what would they be?
First and foremost, it would be join my program. Let me coach you. Let me mentor you. It's the most affordable one out there online. You ain't gonna find one better. But aside from that, and I'm serious. But aside from that, in all um, reality, it's just three things would be set set out your vision of who you want to be, what that looks like, and know that in that vision there's no ego involved. Like
Mm,
when ego gets in the way of your conscious call, the call of your conscious, that's when problems start to arise. You will always have problems as long as you allow your ego to get in between your conscious, the call of your conscious. So listen to your conscious. It's telling you what you need to be doing. If you need to lose weight, there's a reason for it. If you need to grow a better, strengthen a relationship with your child, there's a reason for it. Your
mm,
conscience is telling you these things. You're just ignoring it. So listen to your conscience. Grow a set of balls for all the men. Women just, I guess, I don't even know. I don't want to say there's no genital parts I could say that means tighten the hell up. So for women, tighten the hell up.
some ovaries.
Yeah. Uh, but no, but seriously, have your vision
Mm-hmm.
and do what you say you're going to do every single day. Just imagine right now, imagine where you would be in life if you stuck to that New Year's resolution you had 6 years ago. Like the New Year's resolution you had, where we at? This is May, 5 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine where you would be, because 9 times out of 10, you've already dropped that.
Mm-hmm.
So have integrity and do what you say you're going to do when it comes to becoming better or doing more, becoming more, right? Because that's what we're here for. So most of us, Judith, if you call me up and say, "Hey, Just, can you pick me up from the doctor's office tomorrow, man? Um, at 3 o'clock, my car's in the shop, and I don't want to have to call an Uber." I'm like, "Yeah." You're like, "Are you sure I got to be picked up? Because immediately I got to go straight to this appoint this to work, whatever." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. Are you sure you can pick me up, Just?" I'm like, "Judith, I got you. That's my word, Judith.
Mm-hmm.
I will leave my daughter at school. I will drop appointments that I have just to go and make sure I'm there at 3 o'clock. Why? Because I gave you my word."
Yeah.
But what
Mm.
do we not do? Every time we tell ourselves we're going to do something, we don't uphold our word.
Mm.
So we'll have all this integrity, give somebody else our word, and show and prove and do it and act out on it. But when we tell ourselves, I'm going to wake up early in the morning, I'm going to start going to the gym, I'm going to start eating better, I'm going to quit smoking, I'm going to quit drinking, I'm going to quit getting high, I'm going to start reading 10 pages of a book every day. All of these things we're telling ourselves, which are all positive and better for us, we know we need to do, we don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So have some personal integrity and do that every day. So have your vision, tighten the hell up, and do what you say you're gonna do.
Mm. Absolutely. And finally, well, first of all, before we go into the finally, so what's your company name? How can they get in touch with you? And what programs do you have out there that they should take advantage of?
Yeah. So thank you for this opportunity. So it's Danforth Fit, and it's mindset, nutrition, and fitness, right? And so there's different levels. Like I said, because I got one that's super affordable. We set up payment plans if need be. It's not even like if you can't afford my program, then you're really irresponsible as a grown person. You're just irresponsible with your money if you can't afford my program. However, that being said, um, we will sit down on a call just like this face to face, and we'll go over what needs to take place in order to get you to become the best version of yourself and dropping those vices or the obstacles that stand in your way. Most people have self-limiting beliefs, right? So we'll help smash those self-limiting beliefs and overcome those vices and obstacles. And vices
Mm,
isn't always drugs, alcohol, porn, whatever. It could be just you're watching Netflix every single night. It could be
mhm,
something. It could be just some things we need to tweak, some daily habits we need to put in place. But we'll sit down and figure all that out, and it's custom. I have my own app. You get into the app, we'll customize a program for you. Whether you got access to a gym or you just want to work out in the bathroom at your office, I don't care where it's at. I can give you routines. I can customize a workout program that fits in your schedule and fits with your abilities, right? Because everybody's not on the same level. And also a nutrition plan, a customized nutrition plan to everybody. Don't need to lose weight. You might want to gain weight, or you might just want to tone up. So whatever it is you need to do, we're gonna get it all out on the table, and that's what we're gonna do.
absolutely.
That's
And there's no excuse. They're customized to your.
yeah, it's
So
not.
let's just put that out there.
Yeah,
So there's no excuses because it's customized to your needs, your ability, your time.
and how they can get in touch with me to have that discussion is DM me on Instagram or message me on Facebook. My Facebook is my name, Justin Danforth, and my Instagram, same thing. It's at underscore Justin Danforth.
Yep. So, and I'm going to leave it in the link below anyway. So we'll put all his information and all the programs that he might be working. So take advantage of that. Take advantage of this opportunity. If you're a person that definitely needs discipline, he's your guy. Like, that's it. Because sometimes we don't even understand the definition of discipline. We say, oh, we are disciplined just because we get up and do a routine. But if it's not serving you, it's not doing for you. It's not. So, and last but not least, what legacy do you want to leave behind?
That's a very, very good question. For me, it would just be that people remember when they hear my name, he was or did X, Y, and Z.
Mm,
And that X, Y, and Z is just defines who I became, who I am today, or at that time that I passed. So it's nothing financial. It's nothing. It doesn't involve other people. Other than that, they can take from my example and apply it and become better themselves.
mm. Oh, definitely. So that means maybe a workbook or a workbook plan will come out soon enough, guys. Maybe for 2025, 2026. So stay tuned for that too. To put that out there, we're gonna manifest some stuff for you because you are real, and you don't get that.
Thank
And that's what people need nowadays. That's something that I talk about on a daily basis. People are going to love and appreciate me for who I am and what I give. And I feel that you are that person that a lot of people need, that don't give themselves the opportunity, right? Because we're babied too much, right? We're programmed.
you. Yeah.
And so thank you, Justin, for allowing me to have some of your time, right? And I wish you nothing but success, love. I mean, in every aspect of your life. Thank you for just being real. Since the second I met you, you've been in my head like, and I remember where we met, just in case y'all didn't know, we met at Nourish to Flourish. It was a seminar that Jessica Roman was giving. And I tell you, when he spoke, his day of speaking, he was in my head after that. Like, am I making decisions for pleasure? I'm like, wow, where this guy came from? But that's what I needed to hear. That's what I needed. And knowing that and just familiarizing myself with your character and who you are, it's like you feel like home. I don't know if that makes sense. You
Yeah,
know, I
yeah,
was telling my husband that, like, I was like, man, you need to have a conversation with this Justin guy. And he's like, who's Justin? I'm like, he just feels like home. And he's like, well, are y'all from the same place? You know, and that clicked. And I'm like, no, we're not from the same place, but maybe we've been there.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we've been there, and I was like, wow, it's interesting that my own husband said that. So I just want to say that. I want to say that I appreciate all that and who you become, and you step forward and you said me,
Yeah.
and that's important. You
Thank you.
know, we don't get that. We didn't get that, but you changing generations, you breaking cycles. So I congratulate you. I salute you. So close it out, Justin.
Um, I don't even know how to close it. First of all, this again, thank you for all your kind words. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Um, just know everybody listening, and when I talk to people, I talk to myself as well. Again, it's all implementation, right? I lead by example. I lead from the front. So your level of success will never exceed your level of personal growth and development because success is attracted to the person you become.
Mm,
And I'm gonna leave it at that.
mm. Drop the mic. Drop the mic. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you, our sponsor, La Cienciani Style, for sponsoring this program.